As the sun set over the vast expanse of South Africa, a young Nelson Mandela stood on the precipice of a journey that would define his life and shape the fate of a nation. It was 1962, and the winds of change were whispering through the streets of Johannesburg. But for Mandela, the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty. In a bold move, Mandela decided to leave South Africa and travel to Africa and Europe to rally support for the African National Congress, ANC, the organization he had joined in 1944. His mission was to expose the brutal realities of apartheid, to mobilize international pressure against the regime, and to bring attention to the suffering of his people. But little did he know, his actions had not gone unnoticed by the apartheid authorities. On August 5, 1962, Mandela was arrested at a roadblock in Rivonia, a suburb of Johannesburg. He was charged with high treason, sabotage, and other crimes, and his trial was set to begin in 1963. The charges were a mere pretext for the apartheid government's desire to silence Mandela and crush the ANC. The trial would become one of the longest and most dramatic in South African history, but for Mandela, the real trial had only just begun, the trial of his own resolve. For 27 years, Mandela would languish in prison, subjected to harsh conditions and brutal treatment. He would be beaten, humiliated, and forced to endure the harshest of labor on Robben Island, a desolate place where the winds howled like wolves and the waves crashed against the rocks like a relentless drumbeat. But even in the depths of despair, Mandela's spirit refused to be broken. In prison, Mandela found solace in his fellow inmates, men who shared his dream of a free and equal South Africa. Together, they formed a tight-knit community, bound by their commitment to the ANC and their determination to resist the apartheid regime. Mandela's leadership skills began to emerge, as he organized and mobilized his fellow prisoners, using his words to inspire and motivate them. One story that illustrates Mandela's unwavering spirit is the tale of his time on Robben Island. In the scorching heat of the island summer, Mandela and his fellow prisoners were forced to work in the limestone quarries, extracting rocks from the face of the island. The work was backbreaking, the conditions were brutal, and the treatment was inhumane. But Mandela refused to give in. He used his time on the quarry to learn, to read, and to write, fueling his spirit with the words of great thinkers and leaders. As the years passed, Mandela's dedication to the fight against apartheid only grew stronger. He became a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for his people, and a thorn in the side of the apartheid regime. His imprisonment made him a global icon, and his name became synonymous with courage, resilience, and determination. But Mandela's leadership skills were not limited to the prison walls. Even in captivity, he continued to inspire and mobilize his people, using his voice to speak out against apartheid and to call for an end to the regime's brutal policies. His message was simple yet powerful, that freedom and equality were not just ideals, but fundamental human rights that belonged to all people, regardless of their race or background. As the years went by, Mandela's imprisonment became a rallying cry for the anti-apartheid movement. His name was on the lips of activists and leaders around the world, and his image became a symbol of resistance against oppression. But for Mandela, the fight was far from over. He knew that his release from prison would be just the beginning of a new chapter in his life, one that would be marked by challenges, triumphs, and ultimately, a new era of freedom and equality for his people. Mandela's story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome even the most daunting challenges. His journey from prisoner to president is a reminder that no matter how dark the circumstances, no matter how bleak the outlook, there is always hope. And for those who have been inspired by his life and legacy, there is a call to action, to continue the fight for freedom, equality, and justice, and to never give up in the face of adversity. As we reflect on Mandela's journey, we are reminded that the fight against apartheid was not just a struggle for a specific people or a specific place, but a universal struggle for human rights and dignity. It is a reminder that the power of the human spirit can overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression, and that the will of a people can bring about change, no matter how long the odds may seem. In the words of Mandela himself, for to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Mandela's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of freedom, equality, and justice, and a call to action for all of us to continue the fight for a world where all people can live in dignity and peace. The sun broke through the clouds on a crisp February morning in 1990, casting a warm glow over the walls of Victor Verster prison, where Nelson Mandela had spent 18 long years behind bars. As the gates swung open, a sense of hope and trepidation filled the air. Mandela, now 71 years old, stepped out into the bright light, blinking away the shadows of his confinement. His eyes, once a piercing bright, now seemed to hold a deep sadness, a weight of years and hardship that he had carried within him. This moment marked the beginning of a new era in South African history. The release of Nelson Mandela from prison was a turning point, a moment when the winds of change finally began to blow in earnest. The world watched with bated breath as this iconic figure, once a symbol of resistance, now emerged as a beacon of hope for a nation torn apart by apartheid. In the months that followed, Mandela engaged in secret talks with F.W. de Klerk, the last of the apartheid leaders, to bring an end to the brutal system that had ravaged his people for so long. The negotiations were fraught with tension and challenge, but Mandela remained resolute, driven by his vision of a South Africa where all people could live together in peace and equality. De Klerk, too, had his own reasons for wanting to end apartheid. He saw the writing on the wall, the inevitability of collapse and international isolation. Together, the two men worked tirelessly to hammer out a deal, one that would grant blacks the right to vote and end the discriminatory laws that had held them back for so long. Their agreement, signed on February 2, 1990, marked a seismic shift in South African history. It was a moment of reconciliation, a recognition that the wounds of the past could be healed, that forgiveness and redemption were possible. For Mandela, it was a moment of vindication, proof that his years of struggle had not been in vain. As the country prepared for its first free elections in 1994, the excitement was palpable. For the first time in decades, South Africans of all colors could vote, participate in the democratic process that would shape their future. Mandela, now a global icon, stood at the forefront of this movement, his eyes shining with a sense of purpose and hope. And then, on April 27, 1994, the day of the elections finally arrived. Long lines of voters snaked through the streets, their faces filled with a sense of pride and anticipation. As the votes were counted, the results were clear. Nelson Mandela's African National Congress had won a landslide victory, securing a majority in the new government. This moment marked a turning point in Mandela's story, a moment when he transitioned from prisoner to leader of the nation. It was a moment of triumph, but also of humility, as he recognized that his journey was far from over. The road to freedom was long and winding, but Mandela was ready to walk it, his feet carrying him toward a brighter future for all South Africans. As the sun rose over Cape Town on a crisp April morning in 1994, a new era dawned on South Africa. Nelson Mandela, the man who had spent 27 years fighting for freedom, stood ready to take the oath of office as the country's first black president. The air was electric with anticipation as Mandela, dressed in a simple yet dignified suit, made his way to the podium. The crowd erupted in cheers as he took his place, his iconic smile lighting up the scene. This moment marked the culmination of a long and arduous journey, one that had tested Mandela's resolve and determination. From the cells of Robben Island to the negotiating tables of Pretoria, Mandela had remained steadfast in his pursuit of justice and equality. And now, as he stood on the threshold of this new chapter, his message of hope and reconciliation resonated with the hearts of South Africans from all walks of life. As president, Mandela set out to heal the wounds of apartheid, to mend the divides that had long plagued the nation. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a bold initiative that encouraged perpetrators to come forward and confront their past, and offered amnesty in exchange for the truth. This courageous move was a testament to Mandela's commitment to forgiveness and his vision for a unified South Africa. Mandela's leadership inspired a nation to put aside its differences and work towards a common goal. His message of unity and reconciliation resonated with people around the world, who saw in him a shining example of the human spirit's capacity to overcome even the most daunting obstacles. As he looked out at the faces of his fellow South Africans, Mandela knew that his work was far from over. But he also knew that, together, they could build a brighter future, one that was founded on the principles of justice, equality, and compassion. The years that followed were marked by significant progress, but also by challenges and setbacks. Yet, through it all, Mandela remained a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a way forward. His legacy continues to inspire us today, a powerful reminder of the transformative power of forgiveness, unity, and determination. So, what lessons can we learn from Mandela's story? How can we apply his message of hope and reconciliation to our own lives? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below.